Welcome to Cars on Call. We have a different kind of show today. This is automotive journalist Steve Schutz, and we're going to talk a little bit of automotive journalism. We're going to talk some Formula One. We're the only podcast that has a trauma surgeon, Dr. Stephan Moran.
Dr. Steve
Uh,
Schutz too. So
yeah, but I'm
Dr.
not a
Steve
trauma
Schutz,
surgeon.
you're just a regular doctor. You're just a GI doc.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I talk about this with patients sometimes because patients will ask me, why'd you go into GI before I do their colonoscopy? And of course, the subtext of the question is, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you pick this?
Yeah.
And I tell people it's the least glamorous job in medicine for sure, but I don't care about glamour. And I always make this point, and I'll make this for our audience. 25 years ago, I would find colon cancer one or two every single month. And now, so many polyps that were on their way to cancer got removed. I found my first colon cancer of 2026 about 5 weeks ago. Colon
Wow.
cancer is being prevented by polyp removal. So, this procedure, which is absolutely not glamorous, nobody wants to have it, nobody wants to think about it, is having a major impact on cancer. So, I talk about
Yeah,
that.
so you're taking work away from the surgeons.
Well, they got plenty of work, believe me.
Yeah.
Colorectal surgeons are extremely busy. There's more
Yeah.
diverticulitis now than there was
Oh,
25 years ago.
I
So
gotta
they're
turn my
having,
air conditioning down. Hold on. It's hot here in Alabama. Hold on.
I'll keep going. So it's a non-glamorous job. It's a non-glamorous specialty,
I'm
but
back.
it is
Sorry,
making an
I sat
impact.
here all of a sudden I noticed I was sweating. It's hot.
But
Okay.
on the glamour scale of medicine, you have neurosurgery and cardiology and surgery. Trauma surgery is on one end of the cool spectrum, and then you got like neurology, nephrology, and gastroenterology on the other.
As a trauma surgeon, my wife, when the kids are young, she like, Chase has got a runny nose or he's got a cough, he's got a fever. What should I do? I'm like, you need to call an RD. That's a real doctor because I'm not. I was good at bleeding and dying, but everything else in between, I wasn't. You know, you need an RD because I was
Know your limitations, a real doctor.
exactly, yes.
So we're going to talk about trauma surgeon safety. Stefan, Dr. Moran usually always has a trauma surgeon or a trauma related segment, which is always really good. I want to talk about the Raptor R.
Oh,
We've talked
nice.
about the suburban Escalade, that kind of thing. I got to talk about the Raptor R, and then we got a rant at the end. I think it's about Formula One. So let's start with the Range Rover. I was down in the Bay Area of California, and my press car was the Range Rover. People say the real one or the big one, or is it the Sport, or is it the Velar, or is it the Evoque? This was the real one, the big one. It's a little bit kind of back to its roots. We talked about this, I think, 3 years ago, and the new design is very minimalist, especially if you look at the rear view. Jerry McGovern from Range Rover Land Rover designed this. They kind of deleted almost everything. The door handles are flat. They blacked out all the pillars. They blacked out the windows. They blacked out the rear lights. And there's no creases in the bodywork. This is an absolutely minimalist design. It's very elegant. It looks fantastic. I know you've got some pictures of the interior. It's the same thing. It's a very elegant interior. This is a significantly more expensive car than it was. I actually don't know the price. It didn't have a sticker on it, but if you want to look that up, I'll keep talking. It the price went up with this new generation by around 20 to $30,000 trim level for trim level. So it's a very expensive vehicle. Interestingly, this generation is the first one since the classic one from like '01, '02. This is the first one to go back to BMW engines and transmissions. And what happened was uh, when Range Rover and Land Rover got bought from BMW, first by Ford, and then they sold it to Tata, um, along with Jaguar. They put Jaguar V8s in these things and they took out the BMW engines. BMW, of course, famously bought Rover in, I think, 1994. And then when this classic generation, I think the R230, when that came out, they put it in BMW engines and transmissions. And then when Ford bought them, they immediately took them out because they were so expensive. I remember back, this was 25 years ago, Ford executives said we had to get the BMW engines out because we continue to make the Range Rover with the BMW engines, and each engine costs more than a new Mustang. So
Jeez.
they put the Jaguar engines back in and Ford transmissions, and now, of course, we're going back. And since Ford is no longer involved, Tata, which is the Indian company that owns Jaguar Land Rover, they put the BMW engine and transmissions back in. So it's very cool. It rides great. It's very comfortable. Here's what I want to say. The Range Rover reminded me that sedans, including luxury sedans, maybe especially luxury sedans, are dead. I love the S Class as much as you do. It makes no sense in 2026. You're on the road surrounded by F-150s and Silverados and Escalades and Suburbans. You don't want to be down in a sedan. And the way we are now, that's the reality of any highway. And it's true in Europe too. So it makes sense to have a Range Rover. You're not giving up any luxury. The ride is as smooth as any S Class. The road noise, the engine noise are hushed. You can barely hear anything when you're driving. It is absolutely as comfortable. The advantage, though, unlike the S Class, you sit higher and you can see around better. You're not hunched down below the F-150s all around you. It is absolutely as luxurious. And then you got a hatch, so it's more utility. It looks luxurious, it drives luxurious, it feels luxurious. Of course, it costs luxurious. You don't give up anything and you get a lot. So I think it's great. And I think it signals the absolute death of the luxury sedan. It wouldn't surprise me if the S Class is dead in 5 to 10 years.
Whoa, that's a big prediction. Yeah, I remember going to France in college. This is back in the 70s, and the Range Rover was being sold in Europe. We really didn't see them in America very much. I don't remember what year they came to America, but in France they were called Orange. Um, you call it the Orange. And here's a picture of a Gen 1 Range Rover, which I mean, it was a real big deal back then. There were not a lot of SUVs. And I always loved them, but the what frightened me about the Range Rovers was reliability. I'm glad to hear they're back to the BMW engine. I think that's going to be a much more reliable vehicle. And I did look up the sticker, Steve-O. Base is 85. You'll probably never find one at base. You're probably
It's not, it's
realistically looking.
115.
And then they go up to 157 and 175. So, but I imagine it's
I think
about
that's an old number because I think this is right. This is from Microsoft Copilot. Starting price for this for the actual one is 115. It goes up
okay.
to 263.
Holy
I think the
shit.
85 one is probably the Velar. Maybe I think it's probably
Oh,
the Velar
okay.
for the Sport.
That's what the problem. But I remember it was a couple years ago. We were visiting friends in Huntsville, and we went out in their Range Rover to dinner. And Ellen, who doesn't really pay a whole lot of attention to vehicles, she's like, "This is really nice. I like this." And she would never drive it; it's too big for her. But she was very impressed, and I had to agree. The luxury, the seats were fantastic. I love the fact that it goes up and down, air suspension. And like you said, the Range Rover has replaced the Audi A8. It's replaced the S-Class Mercedes. And when you get the extended wheelbase Range Rover, you look in the back, I mean, the seats recline. I mean, what a ride. I'm with you. I think the S-Class will be basically, I mean, I don't think it's going to go away. I'll think they'll have it, but their sales numbers are just, I'm sure their sales numbers of the S-Class are tanking, and they know that they've got to have even Mercedes, the high end, the G Wagon, but I'd rather have a Range Rover any day over a G Wagon. Much better ride, more luxurious. It's not like a tank. So,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
love the new styling. I think the new styling is really, I just, it's minimalistic, it's beautiful, it's sleek, and I love it. Yep, I could never afford one, but I think if I was, would you, with today, would you own a Range Rover or lease only with the past history and reliability?
Oh, that's a really tough question. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Right now, the $115,000 Range Rover is going to have the 3-liter inline BMW turbocharged six-cylinder, and that's been around a long time. And the V8, which is the higher trim levels, that's the 4.4-liter BMW V8. All those engines have been around for at least 25 years. They've evolved, but these are bulletproof engines. Consumer Reports says engine transmission from BMW are the best in the business. You're not going to have any trouble. It's the electrical wiring and that kind of thing that I'd be
The old
nervous
history of
about.
Lucas Electronics.
Yeah, the Prince of Darkness. I
Yeah.
Before BMW engines made their return, I would say absolutely not. I'm not going to lease. I would only lease. I would buy one now. I think, I think given that, yeah, I'd probably get an extended warranty to take care of the electricals, but I wouldn't worry about the engine and transmission. Those are the most important components. So yeah, I would buy one. Yes.
Well, now, would you buy if you had to do it over again? I know you've got the big Lexus. I think the Range Rover is probably a little more expensive than the Lexus, but if you had to do it over again, would you get the Range Rover over the Lexus, or would you still pick your Lexus?
Oh, I think I'd go with a BMW X7.
Oh, really? The X7.
Yeah,
See,
and
I'd
it's
take a Range Rover. I mean, I guess it's more reliable long term,
well,
but
I paid 110 for it's a mid-level LX, and the Range Rover to get this, to get any kind of options on it at all, you're up 120, 130.
no, that's a bit, yeah,
That's a lot
25,
of money.
30% increase. Yeah, that's a
So
lot
I
of extra
could I
money.
could probably get a nice X7 for 110 and be very happy, and I could keep that for a long time. The reason I get the LX, my last one I had for 16 years, I'll probably have this for 16 years.
Yeah.
But boy, you could make a good argument to keep that Range Rover and buy it.
Wow.
It's has a
Interesting.
way better ride than the LX.
I bet it's a
Um,
better ride than the BMW too.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
And the interior is so beautiful. The materials, you feel special.
Yeah, it's got that English. It's just got that English touch. When it comes to interiors and making you feel luxury, I don't think anybody does it better than Bentley, Range Rover, and Rolls. I mean, their interiors are just like, I would say, bespoke. I mean, they just exude the best of English luxury. I mean,
Yeah, you feel like you've accomplished something in life. You feel special. You feel good, and that's worth a lot. It's not the same. You drive a Lexus, you don't have that same feeling.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to trauma surgeon safety. What do you got for us, man?
All right, so safety, let's see here. We're gonna talk, we're gonna follow, there was a good report came out, and we're gonna fall back upon pedestrian fatalities here in the United States. And this has kind of been my two topics that really bug the hell out of me are,
This is
uh,
especially germane now that we're hosting the World Cup. How many
yes.
Europeans, after a couple pints, have to worry about crossing the street?
Well, at least in Boston, with all the Scots in Boston, you'll see them with their kilts. So speaking of that, my daughter Lauren lives in Boston, and she says Boston is an absolute blast right now. She wishes the Scots would stay. She said the city is alive. It's just fun. She went to a game and she said it's just everywhere you go, the Scots are singing and cheering and they're in their kilts. And she says it's the best vibe she's ever had in Boston. And
Yeah, they
Boston's
said
Boston's
a
so
lot of the
excited
bars ran out of
that
alcohol.
they ran out of beer. Yeah, all the loggers. So anyway. Yeah, be careful, Scots, crossing the beers after several pints. But yeah, so a great point on the World Cup and Europeans being an American. I probably feel like I'm sure that they feel like they're going to just get killed trying to cross the road in America. But anyway, there's
They
a
get drunk and then they're gonna get hit as they cross the road. They all want to go to Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out Burger.
yeah. So anyway, the National Complete Streets Coalition, which is a program of Smart Growth America. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan alliance. And the idea is they want to integrate people in place in the planning, design, construction, operation of transportation networks, meaning they want to look at the human component as how we mix in with transportation and making it safer for everybody. So pedestrians use crossroads, cyclists. But about 2 months ago, Jonathan Morrison, he's the administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He boldly declared that American roads are safer. Man, that dude's either on drugs or he can't read analytically and is not capable of critical thinking. I mean, just what a ridiculous statement to make. So, roads are safer. He's all touting the safety of roads. Well, 39,250 people were killed in 2024. Okay, that's nothing to celebrate. But out of that, those number killed, 7,080 were struck and killed while walking. Now, the interesting thing that and why that what this study shows and brings to point, pedestrian deaths went up 72% from 2009 to 2024. So over 15 years in America, the rate of fatalities of people walking on crossing roads went up 72%. Now, yeah, could he say
That's
roads are?
incredible.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. I've talked about it here before. It's just insane. But was he saying American roads are safer? Well, okay, you can't tout a 3.9% decrease from 2023 to 2024. Okay. And think about it, the 7,180 people that died in 24, that was the fourth highest ever recorded pedestrian fatality rate in 40 years. Okay. There's nothing to celebrate. There's absolutely nothing to celebrate here. So what the numbers show once again that when it comes to roadway safety, we're failing. Um, and what's happening in America is with gas mileage and EPA and Americans and rushing and rush hour traffic and getting to work and we're always in a hurry, we have continued the road design in this country has prioritized vehicle speed over safety. Meaning they want you to get to A and B with the fewest stops the fastest way possible to decrease gas mileage, decrease gas consumptions, make us energy independent, all that. That is danger by design. It's an outdated design. All you got to do is go to Europe and you'll see in Europe what road safety is with traffic calming, slowing people down, taking in mind that yes, people walk, yes, people ride bikes, yes, people are on mopeds, people are on motorcycles. So we have these outdated design standards that continue to produce dangerous places where people are present. Our lanes are too wide. They keep widening the roads. I mean, you go through a town now, it's 2 lanes on each side with a center turn. That is 5 lanes that a pedestrian's got to cross. Okay? Imagine doing that at night. Look at the paint markings on our crosswalks. There's hardly anything there. There needs to be cross hatches, needs to be, I mean, painted to the max so people know pedestrians are going to cross here. Look up. If you see a bunch of wild paint at a crossing, black and white and stripes, you're going to take a second look. But if there's two little faded white lines going across the road, you're not paying attention. And then, so the other interesting thing about this study was it also, whenever we do studies scientifically, we look at what's called demographics. And what demographics mean is you break down of the people who died, what populations are at risk. Well, you can imagine, Steve, who do you think, what populations are the highest at risk to be killed while walking?
I would say elderly,
Elderly, yep. And how about lower income areas versus higher income?
lower income.
Absolutely. So when you think about lower income, they have fewer transportation options. They may have to ride a bike because they can't afford it, a car, or there may not be a bus that comes to their neighborhood, so they've got to walk a long distance to get to the bus. We don't have subway stations. So the lower income is the highest risk. And then in terms of demographics, always break it down by race. And American Indians and Alaska Native populations, listen, this is crazy to me. They had the highest pedestrian fatality rates in the country, 3.7 times the national average. The study did not elucidate as to what may be the causative factors or etiology in this,
I think
but
we can guess.
we, yeah, alcohol,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
And
you're right.
obviously, walking under the influence is highly dangerous.
Yes, and it's like texting under the influence, texting and walking under the influence, and then of course we imagine blacks versus whites. Who's higher risk, blacks or whites?
Blacks.
Yeah, 1.7 times the national average. And you mentioned, over 65, the elderly. I guess after my 65th birthday in November, am I now considered elderly? God help me. I guess I will be.
That's the cutoff.
Yeah.
Medicare eligible.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Jesus. Um, anyway, changing subject
It
about
should
being
help
get.
that you're very young for your age. That should help.
Well, I'm growing the ponytail, man. I got the flow going on. I got trying to look younger. But anyway, so from the elderly, they make up 23% of the pedestrian fatalities, but they only represent 18% of the population. So there's a disproportionate fatality, and that makes sense. I mean, but so if you look at it from a global perspective, which you always got to do, we can't isolate ourselves here in America, close our borders, all that crap. But countries like Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, they have taken roadway safety issues seriously, dedicated investment to changing their roadways, kind of an EU initiative as well, but these are outside the EU. As a result, Japan decreased. What do you think Japan was able to decrease their pedestrian fatality rates over a 10-year period by changing traffic calming, pedestrian crossings? What do you think? What percent do you think they achieved?
I would assume it's not a big percentage because they were already low. I would think they went from
Now,
low to really low,
they reduced their fatalities by 30%
but it
over
was
10
already
years.
low.
It was already low, but yeah, by 30%, that's
That's
still a
wow.
Germany 20%, UK 10%. So
A lot.
America, no. And then I do want to show you a couple quick things here. Let me
Well,
share a
we
screen.
were able to bring it down by a whopping
3
4%.
points. Yeah. All right. Let me see here. All right. Let me get this. I got to get it. Hold with me, viewers. Here we go. I'm going to bring this up and then we're going to look at it in the United States. Here we go. So the state with the top 20 deadliest states for walking ranked by average annual pedestrian fatality rates per 10,000 residents. Number one, New Mexico, and they've gone up. Number two, Louisiana. Number three, Arizona. Number four, South Carolina. All those people trying to get across to the beach down there. Of course, Florida with their elderly, Mississippi, and then
It's
hey,
all warm weather states, Stefan.
yeah, it is. If you look at exactly, so you look at the map here, it is starts on the West Coast where the weather is nice and goes across the South. That's where people walk more. And then there's some pockets in the metro areas. And I'm glad to see that Alabama, once again, we're not first or last. We're down here at 14. And I think Idaho doesn't even make the top 20, dude. Congratulations there. All
It's
right.
cold weather. We don't have a lot of pedestrians in the
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
And in the summer, I have to say our state has done a really good job of traffic calming. There's a really big street, and this is pretty typical of a lot of streets in the city of Boise. They went from 3 lanes one way to 1 lane, and then they
Nice.
made a protected bike lane and then made it just 1 lane. Wow, that's amazing.
That's very sweet. So then we'll break it down a little further. The top deadliest city in the country for a pedestrian is Memphis, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, right there on the border. Memphis, then followed by Albuquerque, Bakersfield, California, Tucson, Baton Rouge. And what's bad about if you look at all these states, cities, all the way down to number 13, their rates have increased. The only you get down to 14 down in Florida, several in Florida, their rates decreased marginally, marginally. So, yeah, just not good statistics.
Do you
Not,
think that to me, that all screams substances, either drunk or high? Did they do drug testing on pedestrian fatalities?
I would imagine, yes, I would imagine. So, fatality is typically a pedestrian fatality is going to typically require an autopsy in most states where they'll have to do toxicology.
I'd love to
The
know those
study, yeah,
results.
the study did not get into, they did not report any of that. I think it's kind of like that thing where the data is bad enough already, and they pointed out some demographic groups. But yeah, I think the intoxicated uh, pedestrian would be a very like it's like DUI driver. Your fatality rate goes up. So
You're drunk or high, you're much more likely to be
yeah,
killed crossing the street.
yeah,
I will let me bring up something. I brought up the changes we're making in my city, but you have mentioned traffic calming, and when you've talked about it, which I love that you talk about it because no one else talks about it, and it does make a difference. I think of traffic circles instead of lights and stuff like that, but instead of intersections, traffic circles. I saw something when I was in France recently. This kind of blew my mind, and this I wouldn't have noticed it except for you. You're going into a village, and what happens is you'll have like a chicane and only one car can get through, so
yes,
one car has to stop
yeah.
and the other car goes through. Well, if you have to stop or you think you might have to stop, you're going to go from 35 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, and it's amazing what a difference that makes.
Yeah, they do that in a lot of towns in France. They just the wide country road, which is a speed limit typically of 90, which is about to 110, around anywhere from 45 to 55. And when it comes into a small town, they just put up a chicane. They just narrow the road down to either a very tight two lane or a one lane, and then they just put some flowers and some trees and or make some parking spots. A lot of times what you see is they put up a curb down the side of the road and they create parking spots to the right, making it a one lane road. And that's all part of making you physical. You don't have a choice. You have to, when you have maneuvers, they can put up signs to slow down, flashing lights, but when you see things like that in the road, you're going to slow down. And yeah, so it's a way to force people to slow down, and they call it the term used in Europe is called traffic calming.
I thought it was great, and
Oh yeah.
it's certainly effective. And I noticed that going into towns, people drive a lot slower than we do going into our towns.
Did you notice when you came to a small town too, where they have a pedestrian crossing? It's not called a speed bump. It's called they elevate it. It goes up.
Hmm.
I guess it's you call it a speed hump, a big wide speed hump that you're not going to want to hit fast in any car. You're going to slow down. So they typically do that at most pedestrian crossings in small towns as well. Just another way to slow people down.
Well, I hope that, awareness and all that sort of thing, and just, not just by drivers, but also by pedestrians is going to make an impact because the numbers you're talking about are just terrible. By the way, I would expect them to get worse, right? We've got an aging population. The boomers are getting older,
Yep.
and Gen X is getting older.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for that. I'm going to talk about something, and this is kind of an offshoot. I thought about this a little bit when I was driving my Range Rover, and I thought about how what are we seeing on the road and what are people buying? And then we talked also about Delivered, the company run by Tommy McCullough, where he will buy a car for you. And it's really amazing to listen to
Oh,
his
it's unbelievable.
YouTube or TikToks because he can get a great deal on a RAV4 or Highlander or a Ford Explorer. He's getting thousands of dollars off. But the cars that are the most desirable, there it's amazing to me because for the last 10 years we've talked about this incredible transition that's coming to electric vehicles. Well, guess what? The customers are we've talked about the dogs aren't eating the dog food. That's especially true when you look at the most desirable vehicles. And it's amazing to me. We talked about Ford Raptors. We have not talked about the Raptor R too much. The most desirable vehicle for people to buy in the United States is the Ford F-150 Raptor R. And you take the Ford F-150 Raptor and you put I think it's basically the Shelby GT500 engine into it, and you start charging a lot of money. The F-150 starts at around $40,000. If you buy, the average transaction price for an F-150 is around $60,000 to $70,000. Out of that it is estimated that $10,000 to $20,000 of that $60,000, or especially if you're paying 80,000 for like a platinum, it is estimated that $10,000 to $20,000 of what you pay for every F-150 is pure profit for the Ford Motor Company. Billions of dollars in profit on this F-150s. Well, how much more does it cost to build a Raptor R with that V8 than it does to build just a standard F-150, an XLT? I don't think it costs that much more. Maybe $5,000 more for the engine and all the stuff on the side and the suspension. These start, Stephan Moran, at 140 fucking
Oh,
thousand dollars.
oh my God.
And
Oh,
and that's the sticker price. Tommy McCullough said if you pay $5,000 to $10,000 over a sticker, you're getting a good deal on a Ford F-150 Raptor R. These things are profit machines. They print money. This is unbelievable. You think about how much money Ford is making and how much money the dealers are making on this Raptor. It is
I guess you can get a
incredible.
10-year mortgage now on a car payment. I mean,
I mean, a hundred. If the base price is 140, none of these are base models. So let's say 145 because they don't have that many options. But let's say they're all 145 sticker, and you're paying 155, and it costs maybe $60,000, $70,000 to make. This is unbelievable. And you look at if you scroll
Go
down,
forward. Go forward.
yes,
Build
if
it
you
and they will come.
GM has a similar vehicle. This is the Escalade V. Tommy McCullough said you're going to pay over sticker for an Escalade V. And then Porsche has the GT3. This is a GT3 Touring. They have the GT3 RS, which is a track machine. But these vehicles, which are the opposite, these are 100%, all of these are 100% analog, non-hybrid, non-BEV vehicles. They are the profit centers for the automakers around the world. It's incredible to me. And by the way, the CEOs don't like talking about these. They won't admit it. They want to talk about hybrid. They want to talk about sustainability. They want to talk about CO2. They never want to talk about the cars that actually pay the freight for their company. I'm having a little bit of a rant here, but how about a little respect and admiration and gratitude for these big trucks and gas guzzlers that actually pay your bills?
Bills. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, every time I see a Raptor, I've talked about Joel Pickett, the neurosurgeon I used to work with. He is a massive Ford guy. He's had a GT, he's had every Shelby. When he bought the Ford Raptor pickup truck, he said it was the most comfortable thing he's ever ridden in. They have super soft suspensions. They got those 36-inch B-lock tires, so they kind of float and bounce. And I know my F-150 Platinum, it's really a Lincoln is what it is. It rides like a Lincoln. I mean, it is
Yeah.
luxurious. It's a wonderful ride. Not the ride of a Range Rover, but you ride anything with that long a wheelbase. Um, it's just, and I absolutely, I love my pickup truck. I couldn't imagine driving anything else. It's absolutely a joy to drive. And those Raptor R's they're bad as shit, man. I see them, but I guess now that I'm approaching the elderly demographic, that's more that's more your influencer, yeah, your 20 to 30-year-old influencer kind of truck, or you're a baller. But yeah, I love them. I just think it's outrageous. And I like outrageous.
It's completely outrageous. By the way, I've seen a lot of TikToks of World Cup fans coming here from Europe and around the world,
That's
and they
what they
love our
want to
food.
rent.
They love our fast food. They love, Raising Cane's and Chick-fil-A. They love the Waffle House. But they all talk about, not all, but most of them talk about the big trucks. Oh my gosh, the big trucks.
They want to rent a
Nobody,
Suburban. Yes.
and yeah, and there was a World Cup guy who he rented a Jeep Wagoneer. He
Oh,
said, he goes, it's as big as my flat at home. It's unbelievable. He goes, this is so wasteful. He goes, nobody needs this, but I love it.
exactly. I mean, Chris Harris says the same thing. You know, Chris Harris, one of the greatest podcasters and YouTube video automotive journalists, he absolutely loves renting the biggest damn Escalade or F-150 he can when he comes to America because they're made for our roads. I mean, we've got these giant interstates where you're going it forever, and you don't want to be going down in this, you don't want to be going a smart car pegging out at 6,000 RPMs down the interstate at 75 miles an hour. No, you want to be in something like this. Yeah, you don't get great gas mileage, but cheaper than an airplane ticket.
Well, I'll say a couple things. I think all of that is true. And let's face it, it's nice to have not just more space around you, but you're elevated more. So the
Yes.
suspension's elevated, so you can see more. That's really nice. More is always more. Let's face it. We say less is more, but more is more. Nobody ever got into an F-150 Raptor and said, "Damn,
This sucks.
this is so slow."
Yeah.
But somebody is doing that because how else do you explain a Raptor R? It's if the F-150 Raptor is ridiculous, and I would argue it is, even though I love it, the Raptor R is insane.
It's in pure insanity. I love it. I mean, I love Jim Farley. He's done a great job with Ford. And he likes to have these showy vehicles, the Ford GTD Mustang, the Raptor R. He likes these racing routes, just high performance vehicles and high performance off-road truck. So I hats off to Jim Farley.
Yes, and guess what? He's a businessman,
Oh yeah.
and he doesn't like vehicles that lose money. Hello,
Well, they
BEVs.
you got to
And
pay for
these
the BEV write-off. Yeah,
Isn't that
exactly.
ridiculous?
Yeah.
You have all these cars that don't make any money, and you got this like absolutely insane, almost embarrassing truck that's overpowered and over suspended, and it just prints money. They have been
Yeah.
making the same thing. I mean, how different is the guts of an F-150 Raptor today versus 20 years ago?
Yeah.
That's not a lot
So
of development cost.
still body on frame.
All right.
All
So
right.
you have a rant. I'm dying to hear your rant because I
We're,
think it opposes my view.
yes, we're going to segue into a rant. So for as if you listened before, I'm a huge Formula One fan. Absolutely love it. And our other guest host on occasion, Jeff Bank, he's a big F1 fan, and I grew up watching F1 in France with my grandmother. Fangio is my favorite driver. But this year is very exciting, and it's getting super exciting. So if you've had a little interest in F1, I'm going to tell you how you need to start just kind of paying attention. If you've seen Drive to Survive, watch it. It's fantastic. It's the F1 drivers and wives of, it's like Beverly Hills Wives. It's a fantastic show. And then on YouTube, they have F1 produces 7 to 10 minute long highlights. So you can watch the highlights of qualifying. Qualifying is really, I love qualifying. And the drivers will tell you qualifying is their favorite part because it's themselves going as fast as they can possibly go without killing themselves. So you can watch the F1 race, the highlights in 10 minutes. So I record all my races. Some of them I watch and fast forward. Some of them I just go straight to YouTube after it's over. And if you do that, don't read the media. Just watch the highlights so you don't know who's going to win. Well, 2 weeks ago, Steve, we were talking F1, and because Jeff Bank and his daughters are huge Kimi Antonelli fans. And for you who don't know Kimi Antonelli, remember this name because he is a generational talent, and he will go down the history books as one of the all-time greatest ever drivers, up there with Verstappen, with Hamilton, with Schumacher, with Fangio. He's going to go down in that. He's going to go down. He's 19 years old, unbelievable talent. Now, what Jack Roush would tell you is he hasn't hit the wall yet, meaning he hasn't had a big shunt, a big crash. Some guys, some drivers can walk away from that. and get back to it. Tony Stewart's one who can do it. There's a lot of drivers, they take that first massive hit and they realize their balls aren't quite so big. But so I probably prayed Kimmy never has a big shump, but he's generational. So this season, George Russell won the first race. Then Kimi Antonelli won the next five in a row. Okay. Five in a row. He makes George Russell look Bush League. I mean, when they have had
They're on
wheel to
the
wheel.
same team.
And they're on the same team, yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks for mentioning it. So George Russell's awesome Mercedes. Mercedes kind of has the best overall package so far. Red Bull's got the best engine, but they've got issue with braking in some corners. Ferrari's on their way up. So we were talking, Steve and I were talking, and I was talking about, Kimi, generational talent. He's leading the championship. And this is after Kimi had won his fifth race. And I mentioned Sir Lewis, who is one of my all-time favorite drivers, seven-time world champion. Should be eight-time, but thanks to Michael Massey and his boneheaded in violation of the regs call at the race of Abu Dhabi in 2021, he screwed Lewis bad. It gets me pissed off. And you told me after Kimmy's fifth win, Lewis needs to retire. Explain yourself to the viewers, and then we'll segue into what the next race showed. So tell them about it.
I thought he should retire probably 3 years ago, probably right after 2021. I'll give him a bye because I was happy with the result. It ended with a championship for Max Verstappen.
Oh, come on, dude.
But but did he get screwed? Probably got screwed.
Yeah, no, he
Um,
definitely got screwed. No probable in there.
but here's the problem. 2015, he was first. 2016, second. 2017, second. 2018, first. 19, first. 21st, 21. We just talked about that. He just came in second. Probably should have won. Put him down as first for that. After that, sixth, third, sixth, and sixth
Well, the
last year.
Mercedes cars sucked after that. Okay. Neither driver did well. Mercedes had that huge porpoising issue with the new regulation package, and Mercedes finally now has a competitive car. They started to show competitive car last year. They made a major screw up with the last regulation change. There were no Mercedes drivers winning.
I think it's a young man's game. He's
It
41
is.
years
It's a
old.
young man's game.
He's 41 years old, and I just feel like, yeah, he did win that one race, but I just don't think I don't
Oh,
think
you mean
you're re
Barcelona last weekend?
Barcelona. He did
And what
win.
was his margin? What was his margin of victory?
I don't
20
remember. I know it was
seconds. 20
comfortable.
seconds. Yeah.
Okay, it was comfortable.
He had a stellar drive. And thing is, so the thing that Formula One and what this new package is you've got to be a little cerebral behind the wheel. It's not simply accelerator brake. They've got this new power recovery, and Kimi Antonelli has made some pretty risky moves. But Lewis he's still okay. He is not at the physical level of a 19-year-old, but the dude is in shape, man. He is totally in shape for a
He's
41-year-old
absolutely
dude.
ripped. He's absolutely in shape. I don't think if you were to weigh him now compared to 10 years ago, I don't think he's gained a single pound.
Pound, yeah.
And I think you're right. He's got the experience, but I think it's a young man's game. Even Tom Brady, and I think Tom Brady is a great analogy because Tom Brady continued to perform at a very high level using nutrition and physiology. He continued
Yeah.
to perform at a high level into around his early 40s. He retired at around the same, it was 41, I think, when he retired. That's exactly where Lewis is. I think it's time. Tom Brady had to retire. I think it's time for Lewis. You don't want to hang around too long. And,
Yeah.
Tom Brady was winning Super Bowls till he retired. Sixth last year. Yeah, I know he won one race. That's like Tom Brady winning one game. We're talking Super Bowls here. Sixth, third, fifth.
Yeah, but
That's
if you could pick Lewis Hamilton over Carlos Sainz, over Hulkenberg, over Lance Stroll, there's so many drivers that Lewis, even though he's 41, he's so much better than the mid-level pack.
He'll be better than the mid-level drivers 10 years from
Years.
now. But do
Yeah.
you want to be that guy
Yeah.
who you used to be the champion? You used to be able to win the race easily, and now you're finishing in the middle because you're too old. Do
Yeah.
you want to be that guy?
Right now, that guy's Fernando Alonso. He needs to retire. Well,
Yeah,
his car sucks.
Fernando Alonso, yes, he won, I think, two championships, but he was never that guy. He was not a
Yeah,
he was no
yeah.
Tom Brady. Lewis Hamilton as a Tom
Is it?
Brady,
Yeah,
a Richard Petty. These guys, they were they're not just generation, they are all time. These are Mount Rushmore guys.
yeah.
The Mount, I don't care if Fernando Alonso races for 10 more years because he's Fernando Alonso. But I think for someone who's a Mount Rushmore, which Lewis Hamilton is, he erodes the brand by continuing on. It's different for
Oh,
him than it is for Fernando
last.
Alonso or George Russell or Kimi Räikkönen.
But here, what I'll tell you this is, so Lewis came into Ferrari, made a lot. He and Fred Vassar, who's the team principal, get along well. He made a lot of changes. He's beating the shit out of Charles Leclerc, who is probably 15 years younger than him. Charles Leclerc made changes to his car, the brakes that now Lewis has, because Lewis had a choice between two systems. He said, nope, I want this one. He made the better choice. Now Charles is backpedaling. Charles can't even keep up with Lewis. But, I think Lewis coming to Ferrari is like Schumacher in 95. He's going to make a big change. But we'll move on. But one last thing. Toto Wolff, who's a team principal, unbelievable guy from Mercedes-Benz Petronas. He's got a real issue. He's got to make a big decision now. They Last season, Max Verstappen came back gaining 92 points at the end of the season. He only lost by 2 points to Lando Norris from McLaren. If they would have tied, Max would have been the champion because he had 8 wins versus Lando's seven. Okay. Lewis is coming on strong. Toto needs to park George Russell. Every time they race wheel to wheel, George and Kimi wins out. He needs to park George Russell. Let Kimi stay ahead to get the championship. That's my point. But I'm going to show one picture here. This is a fantastic picture for the race. So Kimi invited Toto Wolff up on the podium when they awarded the first, second, third place. And I mean, just shows that even though Lewis left Mercedes for Ferrari, Toto and he are still incredible friends, and just shows that these two are two gentlemen of the sport, just two gentlemen of the sport. And the smile on their faces, the hugs, the congratulations. And Toto was as excited as Lewis was to see Lewis win for Ferrari. So to me, there's a lot making in Formula One. If you had a little inkling of jump in now and just watch the YouTube highlights. But it's going to be a fantastic season.
All right, well said. It's going to be great. I do think I mean Mercedes has such a lead. I think that it's going to end up being Kimi Antonelli. I mean,
Yeah, but
no one's
George's, they've had Kimi's car went out at Barcelona. They had a technical issue. He had to park it. He just had passed George Russell and boom, car's gone.
I
George has had
remember.
technical. So, their car mechanically is not bulletproof this year.
Well, McLaren had problems last year in a
Yeah,
couple races too. So
yeah. They
every
all do.
even the teams that are going to win will have problems, and no one's ever won five races in a row and not won a championship. So I'm sure he's going to win the championship.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm reminded of Jenson Button.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that would have been probably 15 years ago.
That was the
He was
Ross Braun Honda year.
Ron, yeah,
Yeah.
he bought the Honda team and just won the next year. And he won, I think, like he came in first or second in like the first 10 races. And then
And then
after that, everyone caught up
up.
and he
Yeah.
didn't win a race,
He didn't
but
win a race, but
his lead was so big.
he had the points build, points lead.
Yeah. So I come at it from a lot of respect when I say that I wish Lewis Hamilton would retire because he's achieved so much and he is on the Mount Rushmore. And I think you'd be an idiot and not a Formula One real fan to not put him one, two, or three all time.
Yes, absolutely.
And for that reason, I mean, not even Mount Rushmore, just the top three. And for that reason, it makes me a little sad that he's continuing into his 40s because I heard an interview with Jerry Seinfeld and they talked about why didn't you do one more season And he was asked, hey, you could have made like $100 million. He said, I could have gotten more than that. He goes, we decided it was time. And he said, a little bit too much of something is bad. And he goes, the problem with a little bit too much of anything is it ruins what came before. You can be
Yeah.
really happy with something, a little too much cake, a little too much coffee, a little too much comedy. And he said, a little too much. And it changes how you look at what was last year, the year before, the year before. And in a career like Tom Brady's or Lewis Hamilton's, I worry that Tom Brady, I can tell he won one more championship with Tampa Bay, and then he did it. He tried again. And he said, "That's it. I'm out." I wish Hamilton would do that too, because Tom Brady, there's no erosion. Opposite of Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is now everyone thinks so much less of Bill Belichick, and they don't think that way of Tom Brady. I think it's because Bill Belichick kept going. I don't want that. I don't want Lewis Hamilton to get Bill Belichicked.
You don't want any tarnish on the trophy.
Right.
Yeah, don't let it tarnish. Good point. But I sure hope that Lewis is in line to finish second in the championship this year. And I think he was so mentally hurt by Abu Dhabi not getting his eighth championship that was stolen from him that he wants that eighth championship in the books. So anyway, great topic.
All right, close us out.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I got the ultimate Grand Prix speed racer shirt, 1967 on. Yeah. So I haven't done a level one trauma in a long time, but I've been level one traumaing on my Cobra, trying to get it street worthy. But everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Remember to hit the bell. Catch us on YouTube or Spotify. We do show some pictures on YouTube. It's a little bit different from the just straight audio. And we'll catch you next time.